being distracted at dinner with your kids and your family is not as easy as it used to be. Oh, I'm thinking about that thing, that specific thing, that client. Did that client sign that big roller? Did that client sign that? And that AUM, did it come in? It's not often as obvious as like a specific thing that you're thinking about. It's the fact that you're just not present. And so it's not like there's one thing on your mind. Oh, I've got to just deal with this and then I can move on. It's a bunch of different things which are just taking away your presence. And so if someone asks you like, hey, are you paying attention? Or are you here right now? And you wouldn't be able to like focus on one thing. If you were to say, okay, it is that one thing, I was just waiting for this one thing to come in, then you can compartmentalize that and say, oh, that's done. Now I can move back to it. But because it's not clear about what any given thing is, you take all of it with you. It's kind of like with your spouse. If you have an argument about something silly, like emptying the dishwasher, and it gets a heated discussion about that, it's not about the dishwasher. It's about the 5,000 other fights that perhaps didn't get resolved in an appropriate way beforehand, then it all stacks together. Same thing. And so bringing that stuff home is not as simple as just like one thing. Oftentimes it's a stacking effect. And so what do we need to think about is that we need to think about, okay, how do you give yourself permission, especially in the world that we live in now? Often if you're a planner or advisor, you're hybrid or you're fully at home, fully remote. Maybe your office is at home, like many of my clients. And so you want to make sure you can give yourself that delineation between when I'm supposed to be working and when I'm not, right? It's not uncommon to work and then go do family stuff and pick up your laptop and go sit down again, right? And there's nothing wrong with that per se. The point here is being really clear about what is it for you and when are you just giving yourself permission to say it's done. And literally, when you're done at the end of the day, to say, okay, this is now, when I close my laptop, that's it. And tell yourself like that is where it sits together. And you might be thinking, well, what about this? What about that? What if that client needs me? Or what if my team needs me? What if like suddenly I have a client get into a point where they need me immediately? One of my clients told me this week, I thought it was perfect, is that if it's something that's urgent, that's wanted from you as an advisor, as a planner, it's probably not actually that you need to deliver it, because clients don't urgently need to go and review their plan. Right? They might have an issue that they need to put the fire out on, but 9 times out of 10, someone on your team or someone in your team could do that. And so not going to have an emergency planning session. And if they do have an emergency to plan, then it's probably that it's kind of too late and we're backing into it anyway. So think of it from that perspective. As you go through your day, what do you need to put in place such that you can give yourself permission to move on to the next thing, rather than just having constantly in your mind going, okay, I'm going to go have dinner now, or I'm making dinner, or I'm being with my kids, or I'm going to the gym, or I'm going to go date night with my wife. But you think about that thing in the back of your mind. So putting it together as a process in your business, the right sort of cadence, and thinking about, okay, what are the operating processes? How do I need to make sure that my team is putting this together such that I know that I can give myself permission? Because we've got two things at play here, as always, is that we've got the mindset of success and we've got the science of success and setting up your environment for success. Because absolutely, you could say, okay, that's it. I'm on vacation. All right, this is family time. I'm not doing any work. And you can deal yourself out. And you can do that for sure, but it requires willpower and it requires you going, all right, screw it. I'm open to whatever happens. This is the time I need. I'm burnt. I need the time. And you will do that when you need to do that. When you take the vacation, you'll be like, okay, I'm out. That's it. I'm good. Or you'll do the periodic check-ins, whatever it might be. But you could also build the system such that you know when you're not there, it does work for you. And you can test this out on a smaller basis as well, rather than waiting for the big vacation. Okay, letting your team know that you're not around after 4 p.m., letting your team know you're not around at all on a Friday, and making sure that like they ask them what they need, empower your team, create that, again, that ownership in your team in order that they can step up and be the best version of them. And your clients are going to end up with a better value proposition anyway. Because as always, it's worth reminding us that like 9 times out of 10, when our clients come calling, they ask for you because you're the person. You're the person that delivers the value. You're the person that knows the most stuff. You own it. You're the primary contact. You're the primary relationship. And 9 times out of 10, they don't actually need you. They just need to get the result they want to get to. And so they're going to ask for you by phone, by email. But if we're setting up the system in the team where your team's asking, hey, absolutely, we can get you in contact. What is it exactly that you need? And getting clear about that they can probably deal with it in that moment as well. Because the clients they don't necessarily want you, they just want to get to their result. So if you can think of it that way around, your firm, your team is providing a result. It comes through you. It doesn't have to be directly into you. One of my favorite tweaks and hacks here is to be thinking about rather than you. And this is what happens as you grow through your practice. When you first start out, it's just you start to get things going, get some production rolling, you start to see the AUM stack, you start to see GDC rolling, you start to see the PCs coming in. Okay, cool. And then now you've got something, you can do it. It works. And then you got to start thinking about, okay, going from a producer to a business owner. And then after you start to think about being a business owner, you got to think about, okay, who do I serve here? Okay, I serve my clients, but also I want to serve myself and my family, things that matter and important to me. But you've got to think about the business as a separate entity. And this is why having the DBA is really helpful as well, because you can call it something else. You can call it that DBA and say, okay, what does the DBA need? What does my business need? Not me. I'm just part of it. And if you can put yourself in a place where you're seeing the business as different that you and your team serve, that way we can think about providing a value to your clients, not through you, but through the business in its entirety. And you can disassociate yourself from that clamp that sometimes we feel is so powerful that you can go home or you can go out of your office and know that, okay, I'm done for the day. And giving yourself permission to say, I'm now done for the day, not just because of sheer will and I'm so tired I must, but to know that you've got some systems, you've got an operating procedure, you've got a rhythm with your team which moves you towards what's most important for you as well. Because think about the impact otherwise. You take it home, and maybe it's one of those days where it's not acute, right? It's just chronic. It's in there somewhere. And you're at dinner, and maybe your kids or your spouse or both are there, and everything's okay. There's not one big thing that's on your mind, but you're not quite as present as you want to get to. You didn't quite rush over to give your daughter or your son a hug as they walked in the door. It was a little bit sluggish. Or you went to make sure that you ran upstairs quickly as you came in the door before you went over and talked to your wife or talked to your husband, whoever that might be. And even if it's not a big deal in the moment, your spouse will feel that as well. And that starts to be a weight. And this is how it's really true that our businesses can impact all other parts of our lives. And if you take that person that's not quite you in that moment and you're pulling too much of the other stuff with you, then there's some resentment that can build into that as well. And your spouse will start to feel it. You'll start to feel some of that weight. And that will slowly spill into that's part of your life. And this is what happens oftentimes. We don't notice it because it's so gradual. It's so gradual over time. And I just thought about an old book that I read when I was a kid, where that was a Roald Dahl book. And the piece of the book was that in order to think about that this person was getting shorter, this old person was getting shorter, every morning the kid would come and glue this tiny millimeter thick piece of wood to their walking cane. And one day, in 2 days, in 3 days makes no difference. But after 6 months, it's a big difference. And by that point, it's kind of too late. You've built some sort of depth into what you believe it to be true. Beliefs build slowly over time through evidence gathering. And if you don't notice it until you're too far in, it's really hard to unwind as well. And what happens is planners get to a point, advisors get to a point where it's okay, well, I need to back off on my business because it's impacting my most important relationships. And whilst that must be true, backing off is not the answer. It's thinking about it clearly. It's stepping up and being proactive. It's thinking, okay, what must be true in my business? How must I raise my standard in my business such that I can continue to hold the standard that I must with the people that I love around me? And by doing that, you solve everything. This is really a story about operating procedures, but really it's a story about who do you want to be as a person. Do you want to be the sort of person that says, okay, I've got a situation here, I've got a challenge, this is the next version of it. How might I win overall, and such that everyone in my universe can be better off from this? Having a win-win approach, which I believe was popularized by Stephen Covey back in the day, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, fantastic book. And I believe in 4 wins. So rather than a win for me and you, how about a win for me and you, and a win for the people that immediately are affected by the thing that we're doing right now, and a win for the greater good overall? Think about that in your business. What do you need to put in place that structure that's systematic through you, through your team, correct cadence, such that you know that you can win in the time-bound focus that you've got for your business, and you can win in your personal life because you're making the delineation between the two, not the separation, not two different people, not it's so far away that like I can't get my head in either space, it's too hard to flick, but making that space where you say, okay, this time I do this, and I'm free to do that because I know that I've closed the loop.